So here's the thing about working on this old equipment. You know, while you're trying your best to improve things, there's a risk you're going to damage something. Me, anyway. There's a risk I'm going to damage something. It's just an inevitable risk. There's a risk I'm going to drop this while I'm working on it. It's a little like standing at the side of the highway. And the longer you stand at the side of the highway, the greater your chances of being hit by a car. The longer you fiddle around with one of these things, the greater is the chance that something amiss is going to happen. Now, I'm sure this thing was working mechanically just fine. Now it's not. Anybody notice? Something to do with this. Well, that means it's time to take a break. And now we know where the noise is coming from. So this is stuck up. Okay, that's the hint we'll work on after my break. Okay, let's see what we can see up on the top here. This control is not moving properly. Sure feels fine now. Something was interfering with this. I have taken this off my little metal stand and put it back on it, but I'm sure there was... Sure seems fine now. Looks like there's just a wee bit of grease needed right here. Not that that's a big deal at all. Okay. Well, put the platter back on. Okay, it's in the neutral position. That's full speed, 78, 45, 33. You know what, I would it's just too much risk to work with this without a record in place in case the needle comes over and I don't catch it. The needle hit this metal plate and go in one of those holes and knock it right off. It'll be over and done with. Now I've got a skid mark on both sides of this record. How many other records did I play on this? None. Okay, we're putting on the skid marked side. Side 2. It's possible the skid mark is just on the surface of the groove, so in fact the needle will still ride in the groove and you won't even know it's there. This damage. Chances. Okay, so it's spinning right now. Go ahead. Let's go ahead. Come on, baby. Do your thing. Well, no, this isn't working right. It didn't feel right. What's happening? Okay, I'm just looking underneath here a little bit. What was that last little sound? So this is moving smoothly like this. I put this on. There's nothing in there. Notice when you turn this off, and the machine will turn itself off to this position. The wheel here is driven off of the spindle, so it's not sitting in contact with the spindle. That's a very important thing. If you leave the wheel in contact with the spindle, over time it will dig a rut or a divot or a bump in the intermediate wheel, and then you'll have that to listen to. Thump, 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 thump. Actually, it's quite fast. Thump, 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 thump. Okay, record on. I'm going to put the record rate down this time. Leave this up. Still plugged in. Oh, I never solved the rubbing thing. I can hear it rubbing. I never solved the rubbing thing. Jim. Yeah, see, this is sprung up. So this is just supposed to come up briefly and then go down again. And it verifies that there's a record big enough to hang over here. So this is identifying different sizes of records. When the record drops, it kicks this thing over. That tells the record player it's a 12-inch. It feels at the same time with this. If it does not feel any record here, then it knows it's a 10-inch. And this is telling the record player where to drop the tone arm. So the question is, why is this still popped up? It should be down. That's a question. Okay, I got the right question. No way you can get the right answer without asking the right question. You know that, right? You know that science is a process of asking the right questions. It's not a process. Well, you are finding the answers as best you can. But the main thing science does is it presents us with questions that should be answered. Oh, Jimmy. Jimmy. I almost made that mistake before. This has to come off. It has to come off because it's going to come off when I flip this over. There's that sound again. I don't know. There it goes. I don't know what it is, but... Okay, Mr. Record Player, how are you supposed to work now? So this is the lever here. Moving this. Moving this. So you need to go clicked in. Now, when the record player is upside down, some funny things can happen, maybe. So it's waiting now, I guess, for the cycle to come around. I don't know if I can do this. Put this in here. Pushing hard here. This guy's supposed to be spring loaded here. There's a spring. The spring is holding this up. I don't think it's springing it. So this feels like it's the velocity trigger or some trigger related to the end of the record. It's got this deal where there's two things mounted on top of each other and they slide like this. The spring is to maintain a certain amount of tension. I probably should not have oiled this. I just put a little bit of oil down on the shaft, but I bet you it's better off not oiled. Put it back together with this in the wrong position, and that's what's caused the problems? How can that happen? I turn the lever, it works just fine. See, this spring has kicked this back into a starting position. In fact, what's happening is I'm going, that would start the motor. Now if I turn the lever further, okay, this spring piece pushes that in. When it does, it causes the record player to trigger and this gear to move forward slightly, about like that. Now the gear would be engaged with the gears on the bottom of the platter, right? These guys here. And the drive begins. Driving this around once. Around, around, around we go. This little spring clip here is having an interesting effect on this, especially right there. It snaps it back into the neutral position where there's no teeth. The gear here is missing some teeth. The teeth get to here, they disengage with the platter gear, drive gear, and the whole thing just stops and waits for this to engage again. Why is it stuck over? This is stuck over. Shouldn't this be here at this point? Don't you go, and then you let go. If I let go, it doesn't come back. Shouldn't it pop back? Moving this lever here. So now what I'm trying to do is identify who's stiff. See, that's not stiff. This isn't stiff. This rod itself is not stiff. This piece is stiff, right in here. Is this too stiff? It's supposed to be stiff. Here's the on-off switch. You see, this lever knocks the on-off switch back and forth. So that would be on, and then we engage it. But the lever doesn't snap back. Shouldn't it snap back? Well, it sure feels stiff right up in here. Very stiff. So is it this guy that's just become stiff? There's a spring. I can see a bit of a spring under here. Well, there's no way a spring is going to do anything with that. That's what's not coming back to where it's supposed to. Is that so? For sure the tightness is here. Now, I'm reticent to stick oil down in here, but it looks like I'm going to have to try something. Let's look at it with the close-up camera. See what we can see here. So the stiff rod is this one here. It's engaged with the switch right there, right at the end of my finger. Let me work the control. That's off. That's on. And then a little further. You see, when I let go of this, it should snap back. It's not snapping back. I think it has to be this piece of metal here. Nothing else is tight. Okay, well, we're going to blast some WD-40 down in there. Where exactly? Just let me get the light here. So, there's a complication in here. You see that spring applying pressure, squeezing this sandwich of various parts together. The idea is somebody could be holding or interfering with the tone arm during the automatic operation. can be blocking the tone arm somehow. At that point, if the tone arm doesn't move, something's got to give. Either the motor's going to slip, drive's going to slip somewhere, or something's going to get bent. Something bad will happen. So they've arranged a slip clutch mechanism in here. So when the tone arm is swinging over the record automatically, if you grabbed it and moved it, you could, because the slip clutch will allow it to slip. And then normally what you want to have happen is once the needle's on the record, you want all this mechanics to disengage completely from the tone arm, so the tone arm is very, very free to move across the record. It can't be dragging all this mechanism with it. And all that's in here, and if you oil it, you can interfere with it. That's my concern. But we got to loosen this guy up somehow. So I think I'm going to smash it with some WD-40. Bit of a solvent action in here. So underneath, on top, the pivot point is right here. It's a rivet. So we're going to go under here. Give it a whack of that. Is this really supposed to be loose, loose, loose? It's still not coming back. So I'm sure it should be snapping back to about there. And all those rods, all those controls, when you turn them to trigger a record, you turn them into a space, the record starts. When you let go, it snaps back a little bit, just to the on position. This one's not snapping back. That's the problem. So the metal down here, this gray metal, is often called pot metal. In some record players and very old radios, the pot metal is unstable, and slowly the contamination, alloy type contamination inside the metal, the little atoms drift to the grain boundaries, the little tiny grain boundaries, and once they get there, they destroy the way the grains are held together. And slowly they come loose. And then eventually these loose grains will form cracks, all the way along them, and the metal will literally crumble. So this looks like pot metal. Doesn't look like it's crumbling at all. But it looks like this part here that won't move is a shaft going through the pot metal. And there is a situation that can occur where the sleeve metal, the outside metal, corrodes a little bit and just freezes up the shaft. Now, is that what's going on here? It's not frozen, but it's getting messed up. Now that the spring has lost its tension, I don't think that's very likely. You know what, this is getting looser. It still won't spring back. How come I can't even push it back? Wow, it's really tough. Let me get a better feel for that, how tough that is. A little hard to get my finger in there. It's pretty darn hard. See the rivet. Let's take a look with the camera again. Is it rotating on the rivet? So that can be a consequence. You have a shaft. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong camera for this. You have a shaft which is riveted here on this piece of metal. So there's a rivet holding it, and the shaft is never supposed to turn. And then you have something that rotates on the shaft. But this gets frozen to the shaft. And what will happen is, instead of rotating around the shaft, it'll grab the shaft and start to grab the shaft rotating on the rivet, on its riveted end. In other words, the rivet loses its holding power. When you get there, there's no coming back from that. Once the rivet is loose, it's never going to be, I would say, it's never going to be solid again. So can we see this kind of thing here? Well, it helps if I look through that camera, of course. Can we actually see? Now, it's really hard to see if the rivet is spinning on here. Now, where is the rivet? The rivet is right in the center of the screen. Right there. Okay, you can see some marks on the rivet. Let me turn this and see. No, so you see that shaft is not turning. Oh, so that means it's pivoting right there. Okay. So my rivet story is true, but it's at the other end of that shaft. So why make it more light? You can really see the rivet now. Is it supposed to turn that shaft? The shaft is frozen, and now this is turning on this rivet, and the quality of the fit between there and that rivet. It looks ugly, doesn't it? Put a little oil on that. Out. Okay, now we're gonna. So it should, you see, it should be snapping back right now, in my view. Wow. Let me get a tool in here. See, that takes a lot. It takes a lot to make that go back. That little spring, it just hasn't got anywhere near the power to do it. So the other end of the shaft is down in this metal. Why would I even want to access it? It looks like this spins on the shaft below the rivet. Or does it? Is it really supposed to work like that? Or what's happened is, like I said before, the shaft is frozen in the metal, and the whole shaft is supposed to turn. I don't think that's terribly likely. I think it's more likely the shaft should stay still, and am I missing? Am I not seeing this for what it is? I'm manually making it come back. Now that's interesting. I mean, you could make that, you know, you have to do this on this record player. After you push it over, you've got to turn it back. It's hard to tell how far to turn it back. Yeah, there's a bit of an indent there. Right there. Well, what else could be stopping this? I could apply heat to it. I think it's getting looser. Is there another pivot? It can't be another pivot point. Did I not get the oil to go down under that ugly rivet? I'm going to guess what's happened is that in fact that rivet, this should not turn on the shaft. The shaft should be turning. So are we ever going to, are we ever going to get it? Okay, now there's something else in here. Is there? So what I'm doing now is I'm working my control and trying to feel if there's some kind of, where are we here? We're over in the position where it should snap back. It's not snapping back. So you can just see there's nothing here. In other words, this can't be restricting it back here. It's this part for sure. How would applying heat help? What about disassembling this whole thing? Oh my God. I don't know, things are riveted. We got heat. It's all metal in here, pretty sure. That brown, that's not metal. Am I getting this wrong? I don't think so. How strong is that spring back there? Let me push on it. I'm trying my best not to knock it right off. Well, can't I feel it just by pushing on that rod, on the lever here? Well, it's engaged with the switch too. So, oops. You're working the front panel lever with your hand. Being a human being, we're pretty strong. You may not realize how much you're fighting against. Wow. So that's the on position. Okay, so from the on position, is the spring able to retract this piece? No. So I'm pulling on it with the control knob. What I want to do is see if there's any time where the spring works on it. There really isn't. Okay, we set it there, and now I try to move it manually here. Well, that wasn't very hard to do. Another thing about this is, contrary to what I was saying about the longer you play around with things, the more danger you enter into. That's something unfortunate will happen. The longer you play with things, the more stuff you see. Sometimes it takes time. And you have to give it the time. So in doing this, I'm trying to judge, well, how hard is it for this thing to move around? It's pretty hard. Like it's all... See, there's never any snapback in this piece. Nothing ever happens that makes it... It never seems loose. And is that a spring under there? Yeah. So that's the spring, and we see the end of the spring. Oops. Here. The end of the spring is there. Okay. Let me check the spring tension now. Without disengaging it. Oh, it's not much. Yeah. If this is going to pull this piece back, this piece has to be loose. And it's far from loose. Okay, so I threw some WD-40 in the key spot there, both underneath and right on top, in case the shaft is turning. But nothing has happened. So if I were to... So let me feel underneath on the deck here. No, it's all on this metal piece here. Everything is bolted and attached to this. So you want to get underneath, you got to get this off. You get this off, the whole record player's coming apart. And that's not going to happen here in Jim's shop. Because, if it were my record player, maybe. If it were a dead dog, maybe I'd take it apart for fun. But, well, maybe I'll throw some alcohol on it also. And we'll see. I don't think it's going to help much. There we are. That's on the rivet end. That's alcohol on the rivet end. is an interesting little gizmo. When I'm moving the lever one way, there's a spring-loaded thing here. It's like a ratchet. And then coming the other way, it catches it. Okay, one way, catches it. But that's not the problem. This is not the problem. Ooh, I've gone too far with that. Nowhere near. The little weak spring is nowhere near pulling this piece back. Well, we got to think about this one for a little bit. I think I'm right on the situation. I think I'm in the correct situation. Just not the correct solution yet. Just one more thought there as I was washing my hands. I got a recollection of this record player. The automatic functions working perfectly fine, but they don't now. Is that a false memory? Or was this thing working? No, it's not. Hard to see how this problem could have just suddenly appeared. This is the kind of thing that doesn't appear suddenly. Okay, it's coffee time. Okay, gave this some more thought. I think this is a problem of a shaft frozen in its sleeve and a part now rotating on a rivet where it should not rotate. I think in the long run the rivet will get looser and looser. The long run could be a long, long time though. As the rivet gets looser, the springback operation here may start operating. But I don't think the looseness would stop there. Long run, it's going to get so loose on the rivet that something is going to happen, including actually separating from the rivet. Now, I'd probably be 200 years old by then, I think. I mean, realistic. How much will this be played? In today's world, this will be played occasionally. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a daily player. So, now how did it seem to operate before? Look at how dusty that is getting. I think because in the first few times I operated this, when I swung this lever over, I spontaneously pushed it back into its proper neutral position, and from there everything can operate. So I want to try that. Is that really what happened here? Because really that could be the solution. Now it's turning already, so it's already operating here. Oh, frozen. Oh my gosh, it's really stuck. What happened? What did I do to it now? Power off, power off. What did I do here? I should go stand alongside a highway. Oh, it could be the feet again are in the way. No. Support feet are not in the way. It's just getting worse and worse. How come you're like this? Why are you behaving this way? Okay, so the geared wheel, the gears are in. Actually, I can see the gap down here. Oh, that just turned fine. Okay, so gap's in place. Maybe I put this on with it not in the gap. That doesn't even matter. It's in the gap. I definitely put it on without it being in the gap. Okay, now it is. Uh-oh. It's decided to try to operate. stiff. No, that's fine now. Don't let the needle touch. Okay. That's off. That's off. Good. Record on again. Oh my gosh, this has gone much longer than I expected this morning. Cat fur all over it. Plug it in. Hope it doesn't start operating. Good. No bladder turning. Okay, here we go. First we go to the on setting. We're set at the 33 speed. That's 33 spinning there. What I'm going to turn the manual operation, and then we'll see that this won't come back on its own. I will turn it back on its own briefly, quickly. Here we go. Doesn't come back. I put it back. Did I put it back far enough? I don't know. What's that chunky thing? Okay. So there's the operating solution that could be used here. I'll take that back. Oh my gosh, what just happened? She locked right up tight. Oh my gosh, what has happened? I asked that question an awful lot in my shop. What the heck is going on? I'm gonna take this off. Everything looks normal up here. Can I spin the wheel? Oh, it's very, very tough right there. Oh, it's just... So I'm trying to turn the big geared wheel. It's not going anywhere. This is up. What is happening now? Very hard to move this. Let me release the tone arm here. The tone arm would be putting pressure up in this area. Wow. You know, I didn't get this back all the way. That's what it was. Now we're in it. She doesn't want to move. The situation here. Sounds like a gear skipping, eh? What has happened? Now it's turning nice and smooth. To here. Okay, so another little part is showing up. This has got to be the velocity trigger here. See how would that, it's not involved. Okay, we're turning. What was happening there? That it was all stuck up. Because I did not pull this lever back far enough, it got into a really bad state. Okay, we'll try that. We'll go on that idea. She's out there. Okay, feet are out of the way. Veering anywhere. Now I'm starting to rush, which is a bad thing. Can't be rushing. Cannot be rushing. So this feels like it's engaged. Seem to be. Okay, power to it. This will be my last try and then I'm done for today here. Power to it. It's in the on position. I think that's 33. Okay, now with this up, the record player thinks there's a record ready to drop. And it comes down, it won't touch this, which I never dealt with this yet. Every time I turn this over, I forget this is the thing to deal with. It won't touch this. I've touched it. Maybe I've triggered it. So the needle may come all the way over to here. Try to play a 45 or something like that. Here we go. I'm going to put this over, and then I'm going to return it right to this spot here. I can do it long enough. Turn it all the way over. Now it, so this kind of action, it's constantly being told there's a record to play and the record is over. Maybe not. It may have been my movement of this. Let's go this way very slowly. There it goes. Keeps, okay. Now we'll do this. Do this. 33 doesn't look like it's 33 though. Of course it's driving them. Oh! Put this down and it jammed. Okay, pull out the plug. This piece is down. Do you know what? This piece is down. It would still be in contact with the record. It's not down yet. Now it's popped right up. This is turned off. So the drag I'm feeling is I think I'm turning the whole motor and everything when I do this. Let's go one more round. This is down. Last time it jammed. You trigger it, and then set it back. Wow, I pushed it past something. I need to turn this too far. It went off. Let's try again. This is back. Oh, this is down. Oh, it's not getting caught now. Okay, we're spinning. We're engaging. We're returning. Ooh, it's coming over. Now it's decided the record's finished. Let me try playing another one because the arm is up. Arm goes down. Playing. Coming up. Right in here. Oh, see, we went right past that spot where it really grabs and it should shut off. Well, that's it for today. Something not right here. Hey, thanks a lot for watching, and tomorrow I'll carry on with this guy. We'll get it going.